Aloha Aquascaping World, this is Stephen Chong of the Tokyo Aquascaping Union. And today I'm going to be looking at Rank 1 and Rank 2, Grand Prize and Gold Prize of the International Aquatic Plant Layout Contest. That's IAPLC 2019. Rank 1 was won by Josh Sim from Malaysia, and Rank 2, Takayuki Fukada from Japan. The layout's name is Tankei. So I have the personal privilege of knowing both of these aquascapers personally. Josh Sim comes out to Japan for the Nature Aquarium party almost every year, and over the years, it's been great to get to know him and develop a close personal friendship. Fukada-san is my personal teacher, so obviously I work very closely with him and owe a lot of my current knowledge to his wisdom and getting to share the same, team environment within Tokyo Aquascaping Union. So, starting off with Josh, first off, this is just incredible. This work, Dream On by Josh Sim, it is my favorite from the contest and probably my favorite work from Josh ever. I just love it. It has such an incredible impact, such an incredible initial impression. It actually almost reminds me of the Brazilian style, in terms of, how should I say, in terms of theme, because you're using a very simple structural framing in order to tell a powerful, like just an impression of stem plants and aquatic plants using their life force as the story and just pushing it onto the audience. Like the strong impression of life here is really incredible. I did talk about Shaq's layout, ranked 5, close friend of Josh. Two of them did really great in all the international contests this year. When they used this theme of the fallen down tree trunk, and when I talked about Shaq's video, I mentioned that it's a really interesting and strong idea that they had to just use two pieces of wood to not only create the base structure of the layout, the entire framing elements of the layout, but also the context all in one. Really simple. Just two pieces of wood, but these two pieces of wood tell you what the story is. The moment that you open it and look at it, you know that you're thinking about a fallen log or a fallen tree trunk. But they also create the visual elements that guide the eye and structure the rest. You're getting everything all together, super simple, super easy to understand. There's no mistaking for what this is. And then when you have this strong platform, beyond the platform, Josh's detail work is just incredible. The jagged tips of the wood here, give the sense of being worn down, wabi sabi, but also have like a very strong, aggressive impression. The detail work in and around the small planting groups in the foreground. Josh is just really great at getting these small detail groups to work for him, really contextualize the story, but also create the largeness of the hardscape, in contrast to the smallness of, plants and details. And I really love all the reflection work this year on both the glass and the surface of the water. It's just magical, really. Like these orange stem plants, the choice of the different red plants Josh used and how he placed them to, combine the green plants and the hardscape together to create a flow and impression. Like the cadence of the orange plants, where they appear, the rhythm of them, where they appear, the balance is just so, it's really impressive and it has a very natural feel. It makes all of the green work and stone work on both reflection sides like really pop because of the color balance. It's just, you can talk and talk and talk about it, and it's just beautiful. And the stonework, guys, pay attention to the stonework and the reflection, because remember, all of this actually exists behind these pieces of wood. Like this stone is a stone that goes like this, something like that, placed around here behind the piece of wood. And that Josh mentioned in his video with Green Aqua recently that he doesn't pull out a mirror and attach it to both sides anymore. He just kind of knows instinctively. I feel like that's correct. The first two times I entered in 2017 and 2018, I also used the mirror to think about what the reflections would look like on my layouts. Ranked 525 in 2017, ranked 5 in 2018. And Josh is right. For the first couple of times you do these types of layouts, you really think about it. but then afterwards you kind of get a sense of how reflections are going to look. So when you reach a certain level of experience, you don't need them, but you do think about them no matter what. You think about how this rock, like how this rock is going, how its angle is going to work with the piece of wood, and how you can make them flow together, or how you can create an entirely different world behind in the reflection compared to the rest of what you're working with. I also, the detail, people have talked about the use of Monte Carlo on the pieces of wood. This is absolutely great. Yes, it's fantastic work. It has a real sense of wetness, right, guys? So in your works, even if you are using a very terrestrial based theme, if you can use plants, or if you can use hardscape like roots or draping plants or other types of epiphytes to create a sense of strong wetness, like this is just a dripping type of environment, then your layout will have a much stronger sense of feeling aquatic, which is something that the judges care about a lot. The idea that this is an aquarium, so it should feel aquatic, it should feel wet. And then even when you go out into the background, I love, Josh is so great at making sure there's some detail in his viewpoints. Try check out Congo in 2017. The small detail mountain work. Like there's these small mountains super far away in the background of IAPLC Congo 2017, and you'll see that Josh is really great at doing this type of thing and making sure he has this type of detail. If you have nothing here in this circled space, the layout kind of falls flat. Like let me show you. I'll color it white for you. So if I zoom in here, I color this part white. We try zoom out again. You see the layout just feels so much flatter, so much more boring. So make sure you have that type of detail present for the audience in that type of space. But Josh is just really, really good at making those details work for him. So if I had any critique at all for Josh's layout, it would be that I don't feel like this stonework here in the center feels all that natural. It would be really, really unusual for a tree to fall down and then suddenly all the pebbles in and around it just naturally line up alongside of it. I think it would be more natural for like a strong river or stream to be pushing down a dead log, and then and say for instance if this is the flow of the stream, then this piece here on the left would be the one that is abiding by that flow. And so then you would think all of the small rocks would abide by it too. So I would probably have put in wood that looks kind of like, I put in stones that kind of like go like this. They have that same direction, abiding by the same flow and direction as the strong piece here on the left. And then the piece on the right would have broken down, broken off, fallen down, and fallen on top of stones that were abiding by the same flow forces as the piece on the right. I think that would be good too, because if I had a stone here, it would, line up with this reflection here. And so there would be renke, how should I say in English, renke? There would be a collaboration between them. But I think that, the way that the foreground's working right now, Josh is, he's entitled to have, instead of, a really naturalistic approach, more of an abstract and more of an abstract artistic approach. This is more along lines of kind of the impact Brazilian style here in the foreground. And it works. It works. Obviously, it works very, very well. This is just a matter of personal taste. But overall, man, it's just incredible work by Josh Sim. Just all the details of the layout and the impact that it has and the sense of nature it has. Love it, love it, love it. I can't wait to see what Josh does next year. So moving on to Fukada-san, Tanke. This is also a really incredible layout. I will have to admit though, the first time I saw it, this layout has really grown on me. The first time I saw it, I felt like, it's really strange for Fukada-san, because this layout is just super, super heavy. Like, you look at the stonework on both sides, it just feels extremely heavy. Um, I feel like Fukada-san has an incredibly good sense of rhythm, and when I first initially opened this, when he first showed me this layout, I felt like that rhythm was off. It felt too simplistic, too um, almost unnaturally heavy compared to his other works. Like for instance, if you looked at Mighty Cave, it's very similar design, but there's a small triangle of space on the right side, and obviously the big loops of open space on the left. And those open spaces that existed in Fukada-san's 2016 Grand Prize work, they prevent the layout from being overly heavy. They prevent the work from, feel like it's just sitting, that it's flat. Whereas, obviously, Fukada-san is really great at putting details inside of his shadows. If the critical eye paying attention to where you can see details coming out of the black, there does feel like a really good rhythm here, a really good cadence. But just in initial impression, it just seems so heavy and flat when you get this impression of like a wall coming in. But you know, see, on review, you know, it's actually almost really impressive that Fukada-san was able to change himself up like this, because usually when a layouter gets set in their ways, something like rhythm, it's something that you just don't break. It's something that you just, if you get it, you just keep doing it as you've always been doing it. But the fact that he could change it up, he could almost make it feel like it feels bad by being so heavy. Amano-san too, in his later works near the end of his career, he almost tried to make his layouts feel junk compared to his natural rhythm, because he just felt like he needed to break out of it. I think that Fukada-san being able to change up his pacing, being able to challenge like the types of habits that he's developed, it feels like he's still a young layouter. It feels like he's not trapped by his own experience, and that's really, really important for someone who reaches the top and wants to keep going. It's really impressive in that way. And against the backdrop of this really dynamic and powerful layout and really dynamic and powerful hardscape, there's two things about this layout that really, really impress me. The fish work and then the viewpoint. The viewpoint is the final area that your eye is going to be led to. Here in the background, where Fukada-san put in these stem plants, like, maybe some of you didn't even think of, I mean, it's so easy to not think about this. I'm sure some of my audience won't have noticed this until I point it out, but like having these types of stem plants in the background is a totally different rhythm from the rest of the layout, right? Overall, this is very powerful, dynamic, diorama style, moss, cephalandra, green plants that, tell the story of, this really impactful landscape scene. But here, in this one space, it's like pure nature aquarium. It's pure like traditionalist stem plants, almost Dutch style, right? So it feels totally different from the rest, and yet it doesn't feel unnatural. Like even though like it's entirely different in theme in the background, there is no real sense of, in Nihongo de iwakan, in Japanese we say iwakan, strangeness or absurdity. Um, it like doesn't feel strange or unbalanced. It just feels like this is how it should be. And yet when you have these stem plants in the back, it's a strong sense of nature. It's a strong sense of wetness. It has a very natural feel. If you don't have this part in the background, it feels like a diorama. It feels like something that would be better suited for a train, like a trainscape, like a toy model trainscape. But because you have this section in the back here, it feels like it should be an aquarium. The ripples up top leading to this empty space, and you see it's almost like an arrow, right? He almost like draws an arrow with the rock. But going down from the ripples to this viewpoint, This is what makes it feel aquatic. This is where the wetness comes in. This is the space that obviously the whole layout is designed to bring you to, but it's also the space that makes you feel like, oh yes, this is a nature aquarium, a beautiful nature aquarium. That's really, masterful in concept. The other thing that I really love that Fukada-san did here was what he did with the fish choice, gold tetra. Using a very white, bright fish up against a dark background is pretty standard, but I have used this concept myself in 2017 and 2018. I had gold tetras in a kind of cavernous landscape, and then so the same fish, right? And I also had last year I used the Gertrude's butterfly, which is kind of a white but rainbow butterfly fish, and I had them also swimming in a giant round cave. But I don't think I got such a beautiful impression of fish in those two scapes. Like the concept works, but Fukada-san made the concept work here so much better. And like my layout from last year, instead of having them school in a straight line, uh, he had them kind of expand throughout the space. It almost feels like confetti, confetti, whew, like a big cloud. But this is the way that gold tetras swim naturally. They're not really a schooling type of fish, and having them kind of naturally expand out in this space in perfect shape, like this one here, this one gold tetra here, just makes the whole school work very well. But having them expand out into this space also makes the space feel so expansive. It really cancels just the straight heaviness of the layout. And the more I looked at it, the more these fish made the heaviness of the hardscape feel really, really brilliant. The more I looked at this scape, the more it grew on me. It just has, such it has a unique atmosphere for sure, between the way the plants work in the viewpoint and how these golden tetras are just giving life to this expansive space. Josh mentioned in his green aqua video how fish are the moving element and the hardscape is the unmoving element, but the animation of these fish just flitting about, expanding out into this dark space and taking real advantage of the fact that there's a contrast in value between the bright white fish and the dark shadow background. Um, they just make the place feel alive. So incredible work how it all came together. Remember, guys, I mentioned in one of my videos, Fukada-san started putting this together in like the last 2 weeks of March. This is why it's really important to have a good sense of concept, good sense of idea, good sense of story. And then when you have the technical skills to also put hardscape together quickly when needed, and then also husbandry when you have you've paid attention and you've faced the plants and you've paid attention to plants and fish, really devoted to having a conversation with the life forms under your charge, you are able to bring everything up to a maximum like this in a very short amount of time. You are able to bring out the life force of the hardscape, of the plants, of your idea, and bring your idea to life. That's something that Fukada-san really accomplished with this layout, and Josh also accomplished with his layout. So congrats to both of them. Incredible work. They're still the kings. They're still the masters. I feel super kuyashi. Kuyashi means like in pain or suffering, because somehow the next generation, people like us who want to challenge Fukada-san, we have to step up into this level. We want to challenge Josh Sim, we have to step up into this level. And what a level it is, what a bar it is. It's a bold new world of aquascaping as we enter 2020, the 20th anniversary year of the IAPLC, International Aquatic Plant Layout Contest. I think next year is going to be absolutely epic. And these two guys will be ones to watch out for, but there are those of us who are definitely going to try and challenge them. We will see. We will see what happens next year, 2020, IAPLC 2020. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope this was a good reference for you. If you liked the video, please like, subscribe, share on Facebook and share on Facebook or anywhere else. And also, if you have any layouts that you would like me to review in future videos, as always, please leave them down in the comments. Thanks. Aloha.